¿Quieres una?
So all the usual selection of excellent beers you might find in the States. Bunch of European stuff as well. And then what I'm looking for, the Chilean stuff. I'm in the district of Providencia in Santiago, and I'm at Beer Vanna. So yeah, maybe you could just give me like a sampling of what I should be having.
Yeah, we have probably about 30 different breweries from Chile right now. A lot of the Chilean breweries are taking a lot of influence from the U.S. and what's going on there, even to a point where a lot of it's in English.
Yeah.
You know, they really like the fact that, you know, the U.S. being so close is the revolution happened, you know, recently for us there. And they're really trying to parlay that into the Chilean beer scene here.
So, are they kind of playing fast and loose with some of the category names, though? Because I've had a couple of good beers, but they weren't exactly what I would have thought from the label.
I mean, I'll give you an example. Like, so this is a brewery called Rothammer. They're, you know, Rothammer. You don't really think Chilean, first of all. They're two brothers named Rothammer. There's a lot of German influence here in Chile. So it's called Politics Kills, and you know it's got a cool label, and it's got some skulls, and you know badass shit. And then it's a double imperial pilsner, which doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. So it's a quadruple pilsner. You know what I mean? Like, so they literally. Then I went to Wikipedia. And I looked up imperial pilsner, and it says double/imperial pilsner.
Okay.
And that's why it's double imperial.
Yeah, right.
And there are a couple of other brands that are sort of guilty of that early on.
Yeah.
And sort of started this trend, and it's a real pain in the ass for me to
understand what's happening.
Yeah, and like to tell them like you guys are no. If you call something a Merlot, everyone would go crazy. So,
yes,
you know,
that's right.
You don't call it a Merlot, you call it a Merlot, or you know what happened.
Right. These are all Chilean.
Yep, these are from the same brewery, and this is one of the bigger breweries. So this is a brewery called Cross. They started sort of early 2000s. Brewer is actually a German guy named Asbjorn Gerlach.
Okay.
He's one of the only actually like certified brewers in the country.
I had one of their stouts, and it was pretty decent.
Yeah, it's pretty solid. Cross has been doing. They do a couple. They do two solid German style beers. So they do a Pilsner, they do a Maibach. Then they do a Golden, which is sort of their pale ale, and a stout, and they also do an ESB and an amber that's aged with oak chips.
Nice.
But they do a series of experimental beers, and they're just starting to get into IPAs, Scotch ales, or smokier things.
Yeah.
And then this is actually a quadruple blended with a strong ale that's aged in carbon air barrels.
What's the ABV?
It's only about 8.5, if I remember correctly. It's not super high, but it's kind of a weird and different. Sorry, 9.2.
Okay.
It's got sort of a little spicier note to it.
Yeah.
Carbon air barrels, which is pretty interesting. Which I wouldn't really have gone for that in this particular style, but really tasty stuff. And then these two are from a brewery called Granizo in a small town, sort of northwest of Santiago called Olmué, right on the edge of this giant national park. And this is an imperial stout that's blended with a chili pepper called Puta Madre, which, if I could swear, it literally means like the motherfucker.
Yeah.
And this is called Quercus. This is a strong ale that's aged in French oak, and then it's aged in American oak that had Syrah in it before. So Oscar Granito, who's the owner and brewer of Granizo, is an ex-winemaker.
Yeah.
So he really he really understands fermentation. So he's really trying to push the boundaries of sort of how wine and barrels will play into the beer.
I had a couple of beers from, is it Cinquante Seis they're called?
Yep.
Okay. Right over there. And,
Yep.
you know, they tasted kind of Belgian.
Yeah.
What's the deal with yeast strains down here? Are they working with...
Well,
I mean, they were unfiltered beers, so that played into it, but it definitely tasted like something that was working in the Belgian direction.
we started, and we're going to be importing White Labs yeast for breweries. Right now, everyone's using dry yeast.
Okay.
And they all use the exact same strains.
Wow.
So, unfortunately for the Chilean brewing scene, a lot of the beer just kind of tastes the same.
Huh.
There are obviously those who know a little bit more about what they're doing and how to manipulate the yeast a little bit.
Right.
But yeah, it's pretty much, it's either safe ale or fermentus, and it's one of the two. We want to work with them to sort of help grow. You know, the brewing scene. So
and the more people buy, the more more it's going to improve.
Exactly. I mean, like, you know, in reality, I could have another refrigerator of just Chilean stuff if I wanted to, but I need them to be consistent.
Thanks so much, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Cheers.